Hey everyone, we are halfway through Conquest, so I thought this would be a really good opportunity to go over which battles I think you should be losing to kind of make the most of your Conquest run. It is obviously there's a different tactic for everyone, so this is just how I do it. It's how I've managed to work with a roster that only has one Galactic Legend versus my own roster that has five now. Managing resources in this game is so important, and in Conquest, managing your resources and managing your stamina is equally important. And when you lose, you're able to do that. So this is just how I do it. Again, if you do it differently, that's totally cool. I encourage you to play Conquest however you feel in order to get the max crate you can for your roster. But hopefully you learn something and you can take it and apply it. And if you don't, that's cool too. I'd love to know what you're doing. If you found it helpful, please let me know below. And let's get started because this is a lot. So I want to start with the global feats because the global feats this iteration of Conquest and next month, so April 22, that Conquest will have the same feats. There aren't a lot of global feats that you can actually purposely lose on. The first one, Grand Victory, you can defeat at least 500 enemies. You technically don't need to win to get this done, as long as you're defeating enemies, whether you win the fight or lose the fight or timeout, it's going to tick towards this. This feat is not one that I would quote unquote actively chase. So I wouldn't say that I would tell you to purposely lose in order to get this done. You're going to get it done naturally making your way through the sector, especially because a lot of those feats require you to replay battles like the boss nodes, for example, to get the feats there. So you're going to be able to rack up the enemies pretty quickly without actually actively chasing it. Obviously, live in the light, dabble in darkness. You need to win. It says it right there in them. I want my armor and a new hope. I'm just going to disappear for a second here. You also need to win those two. It says it again right in the descriptor. If you are looking at going towards these final feats, Great Shot Kid, I know there is good in you, and unlimited power, you technically don't need to win to get these done. Great Shot Kid is the feat you unlock after you complete A New Hope feat, and Unlimited Power, you unlock it after you complete I Know There Is Good in You. Those are the ones that are going to give you the data disc, so it's completely up to you if you're going to go for those feats or not. You don't need to win to get it done. You just need to have those data discs equipped and do what the feat requires you to do, which obviously tells you there you need to gain those buffs 20 times. The best way to do those feats, by the way, Great Shot Kid and Unlimited Power, is if you get the disc at the same time for both of them, if you are chasing them, put both discs on and work on them at the exact same time. Just a little fun fact, but you don't need to win. I Know There Is Good in You. You have to, again, defeat 100 enemies, but with specific characters, Jedi Knight Luke and Darth Vader. You don't need to win, but again, I wouldn't recommend necessarily throwing this one and losing because you're going to get it done naturally as you're making your way through the sectors if you're using Jedi Knight Luke and Darth Vader, which, if you have them, you probably are. They're probably pretty strong in your roster, and I would recommend doing that. And then the final feat, that is a global feat, Grand Conquest, win 250 battles. Obviously, it says it right in the feat. You have to win to get it done. Okay, so that's the global ones. Super straightforward. The majority of them you do need to win for. Even the ones that you don't need to win for, I'm going to tell you, you should be winning anyway because you need to get to Sector 5. So let's look at Sector 1. Super straightforward. You actually only need to win one feat here. Win battles for one feat, which is unguarded. This is a typo, but you need to win 14 battles with no tanks in your squad. It says it right in the feat. The other three you don't need to win for. So defeating 50 enemies with bounty hunter units, you can lose. You can time out. As long as you get the kills with bounty hunter units, you're good to go. Gaining foresight 60 times, again, you can lose. You can time out. You're good to go as long as you are gaining the buff. Attempting to inflict blind 40 times, also don't need to win for. So because you don't need to win these, the reason why I recommend not winning them is you're actually going to be able, if stamina is something that you are concerned about, if you're limited in your roster, you're able to take advantage of not draining your stamina. By that, what I mean is you're going to spend the energy to do the battle, and then you're going to either purposely lose or time out. You are not going to forfeit. If you forfeit, you lose all progress towards your feats, so you're not going to do that. When you lose and time out, you will get credit for any one that you've killed or any buffs that you, or debuffs that you have gained or inflicted or attempted to inflict, and depending on the phrasing of the feat. Because you're not winning, you're not draining your stamina, which means you can go on and do a feat that you actually need to win for with your characters at 100% stamina. So for example, Blinding Assault. If you wanted to inflict blind 40 times, you could theoretically use Jedi Knight Luke if you wanted to. He has a blind. But say you want to make your way into Sector 3 later on and you need to win with a full Jedi team, and say your Jedi is limited and you really need to use Jedi Knight Luke there, you don't want his stamina to be drained because you've been winning this whole time trying to get him to pop blinds off. So if you can limit that, you're able to actually focus on what matters more for winning. And these ones don't matter if you win or you lose. So what I recommend doing is double dipping on these feats. So make your way through the sector and try to get them as you can go. I wouldn't necessarily focus on them and chase them down. I like to go back to the sectors later on in the second week of Conquest, and that's when I do these feats that you don't need to win for, because you can buy a refresh and get a bunch of these feats done with a refresh and you're good to go. So let's look at Sector 2, because as we move in, it's going to get a little bit more, I don't want to say dicey, but you'll get the idea. So here you need to win 2 feats, Flawless Victory and All Imperial Troopers. So pretty straightforward. It tells you right there in the description. Gain defense up 60 times. This is my favorite, in Armor Up, my favorite feat to lose for. You can get it done in one fight and you can just lose and call it a day. Clone Wars Chewie, does not matter what squad you go up against. Pick a node, any node. Clone Wars Chewie lead, give him 4 tanks, and he's going to gain, because of his leadership ability, you'll gain defense up. I personally like to go after nodes that, have assists on the team will assist, because the more they're hitting your team, the more your team is gaining defense up, so you're more likely to get it done in one battle. And then Siphoning Strike, gain health steal up 20 times. You don't need to win. I purposely saved this one for the second week of Conquest and go back and finish it later on. I usually will get a couple as I'm making my way through Sector 2, and then I go back and pick up the rest of them with a team, and I will purposely lose. So whether it's with General Grievous or whether I'm facing a General Grievous node and stealing that health steal buff that he has with Grandmaster Yoda and then spreading it on my own team, that's a great way to gain it. Or you can use Palpatine. He also has it as well. Anything like that, you can purposely lose. Again, you've gotten the health steal up, and then you get credit towards the feat, and you're not wasting your stamina. Okay, so Sector 3, you only need to win in 2 feats as well here. So all Jedi, pretty straightforward, and fleet-footed, those are the ones that you're going to want to win for. It says it right in the descriptor. Lucky Shot, scoring at least 200 critical hits. You technically don't need to win for this because it'll count your critical hits if you lose. Again, it's not one that I recommend losing. Make your way through this sector. You're most likely going to get this one naturally as you're going through, just because there's so many battles to get done before you get done the sector. Defeating 50 enemies with droid units for Beep Boop. This is exactly the same as defeating with bounty hunter units from Sector 1. You don't need to win. So you can lose or you can time out and farm those feats that way. These nodes are perfect to do against, these feats, are perfect to do against nodes that have revives on them. So Imperial Trooper nodes, because they come back. Geonosian nodes, because the Brute will come back, he'll be revived. And a Separatist node that has Watt on it, let him do the reviving for you. Nodes that have Boba, or Django on them, they'll revive. So you want that to happen. If you have a Night Sister node and you just leave Daka alive, let her do the reviving for you. Anything like that where you can just keep killing over and over and over again, you'll be good to go. Sector 4. So you need to win just with all Sith here. The other 3 feats you can lose. Clone Trooper units, exactly the same as winning or killing with droids and killing with bounty hunters in Sector 1. You don't need to win. You're going to look for the same nodes for this anyway. Attempting to inflict ability block 60 times and gaining stealth 40 times. Again, you don't need to win. These feats are feats that I will work on slowly as I'm making my way through the sector. I don't work on them actively. It's a passive thing depending on the teams that I work with to get my way through. My goal is just to get through to the end of the sector, get through to the end of Sector 5, and then I will go back and work on these feats after the fact because you don't need to win for them. So again, attempting to inflict ability block. You don't even need to land it. You just need to actually do the move that has ability block in it for that character. So all you need to do is make sure that you've attempted to inflict it. You can't kill the character when you do this. So if the character is looking like it's going to die anyway from that ability, whatever the move may be, you're not going to get credit for it. These feats where you need to inflict debuffs on characters, I love to do them on nodes that have Nest because she just gains so much protection from being hit nonstop that you just keep inflicting or attempting to inflict the debuff over and over again, and she just lives, and eventually you just time out because it's Nest, or she kills you, and you walk away laughing because you didn't need to win anyway. Gaining stealth 40 times, you can either steal this with Grandmaster Yoda off of a squad that has stealth, or again, just work on it slowly on your way through, go back and lose over and over again. I like to work on this against teams that are difficult to chew through so that I can repeatedly gain stealth and lose. But again, I do this after I've already finished the feat or after I've already finished the sector so that whatever I have earned passively, I can go back and lose on purpose for. It sounds counterintuitive, but it works. And then finally in Sector 5, you only need to win 1, which is winning with all Galactic Republic. Clumsy, which is attempting to inflict evasion down, inflicting armor shred 20 times from Beskar Breaker, and defeating 50 enemies with Old Republic units. You don't need to win for. A few of these you can double up on. Old Republic units, you'll be able to get armor shred, you'll be able to call or defeat your enemies with Old Republic units, and then I like to stick Old Ben with them anyway so that I can get the evasion down at the same time because it's just attempting to inflict it with his basic. So again, super straightforward. I make my way to the end of the sector, then I go back and I double up on whatever feats that I need to tidy up with, and I just like to lose. The benefit to losing here, again, is that you don't drain your stamina, so you will be good to go. If you are using any consumables for whatever reason, and because they last multiple battles, let's say you want to make your way through to a boss battle that you're having problems with, but your stamina hasn't regenerated yet, but you already have the consumable equipped because you used it last time for something, and you've only got one more battle left on that consumable. If you lose, you won't use up the other half of that consumable's use. So if it gives you 1 out of 2 battles to use it, or if you have 2 out of 3 battles left on it, whatever it is that's left, it won't actually tick down if you lose. So if you're waiting for that team to get its stamina back, you can go back and work on these feats that you can lose on purpose, and then you don't waste your consumable at the same time. The only other feat that I want to mention, because it is fixed now, is the Lord Vader boss feat. In Sector 4, you need to inflict marked 3 times. So this is fixed. You don't need to win, so it is counting it now. And even better, you actually don't need to do it all in one battle. So if you can't even survive long enough to get 3 off, you can do it over the course of 3 battles, which is exactly what I did last month. Once they had fixed it, I wanted to test it to actually make sure it was fixed. And it is. And I just didn't even survive past the first opening move, but I was able to inflict marked each time on my first turn. It took me 3 fights, which is a lot of energy for 1 feat, of course, but each fight I lost, I only inflicted mark once and it counted for all 3. So that is pretty much it. Again, that's just how I go through it. I find it a lot easier to manage your stamina this way if you're able to purposely lose. And I find it to be a little bit more bearable to make your way through it. The only thing I will say, when you are defeating enemies, if you're defeating 50 enemies with bounty hunters or whichever feat you're working on, once I'm towards the end of that feat, and by that I mean if I have 5 or 6, however many kills remaining that I need to get with that faction, I will win on purpose just so that I can get the extra kill versus just timing out. Because obviously if you're losing, or timing out, you're leaving a character alive at the end, and that's a character that you could potentially kill. That's a downfall to this method for those specific feats. But it does work really well, and it allows me to use those utility characters in other places where I actually need them, and I actually need them to win and be at 100% stamina. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and otherwise, we'll see you next time.